What do you think of all this live work, we live ideas? I really thought that this could be something with micro apartments. I got obsessed with it. Micro homes. I was looking for an investment. We wound up investing in blockable.com, which builds modular housing in factories, slightly different than micro apartments or these ADUs, accessibility dwelling units or whatever. What impact are those going to have in the future on cities? And do you think those are a good thing for us to pursue with this housing crisis? Micro apartments, we live clubs.
Yeah, great question. In supply constrained cities like San Francisco, New York, Austin, yeah, I see it. Like I've helped a couple of investors who've looked at opportunities here, and like there's definitely demand, and there's an arbitrage play, right? Just like master lease something, chop it into smaller bits, and lease it again to kind of people renting.
Yeah.
Do I think it will work in the rest of America, which isn't supply constrained? Because most US rental markets or real estate markets are kind of one for one. There's no crazy imbalance of demand and supply. We just happen to live in a crazy imbalanced city. Unclear. Maybe. Millennials are still, to your earlier question, highly footloose, don't even necessarily want to commit to a 12-month lease, let alone anything longer. So I'm kind of long on it in the first 10 cities that they've all focused on in the We Lives and the Commons. Totally buy it. The biggest challenge for them, I think, will be, does this work in Lansing, Michigan? Or does it need to work in like smaller cities? Or is there enough supply where you can have your own place?
The reason I think it's interesting is if you think about low-cost value products like Lyft, Line, or Uber Pool, and just saving money and being frugal in order to have, for the millennials and these Gen Zs who really value lifestyle, part of having this epic lifestyle is not having a big burn rate.
Yep.
So in a place like San Francisco, micro apartments, or Manhattan, New York, or Hong Kong, a micro apartment, which I think is 150 square feet to 250 square feet.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
350, I think, was the limit in New York, that you weren't allowed to build less than that because they didn't want families living in under 350 square feet. But they didn't realize that there would be single people all over the place. So the reason to have that here would be somebody could pay $2,000 instead of, what is the average rent in San Francisco now?
$3,700 for
now,
one bed.
Is that number legit, or does that include like these $5,000 high-end apartments that skew it?
So Zumper has pretty much every listing in San Francisco. To be clear, these are vacant listings being advertised on Zumper right now. So this is not saying your neighbor who's been in their apartment for 7 years is paying $3,700. The last report, it came down a little.
To $3,520. New York is $3,000. Boston, $2,500. San Jose, $2,400. Los Angeles, $2,200. Los Angeles seems high to me. And San Diego, $1,750 for a one-bedroom.
Yeah, San Francisco's been above New York for several years now. It's actually narrowing a little, but there's no signs that anything's gonna flop.
The difference here is in New York, that's New York, New York.
5 boroughs.
5 boroughs.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing. If you live in New York and you live out in Flatbush or Crown Heights, that number is not 3,000. It's
correct.
1,400?
1,500. Yeah, this is very bimodal. This is a very bimodal average. You've got a bunch of people in Manhattan paying $5,500 and a bunch of people in Queens paying $2,000.
Right. And they can each use the city equally.
Yep, correct.
Because of
transportation.
Yeah. And that's what's missing here is I lived on the last stop, Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
Yep.
But I could go to Manhattan. It just took me 20 or 30 more minutes. But same train that the people on the Upper East Side took.
Yeah.
So I had to suffer like an extra 30 minutes. Boo-hoo for me as a young person. I didn't care. Still part of it. Once I got to the Limelight, once I got to the Palladium, once I got to Manhattan, the Roxy, the Tunnel, all these great clubs back in the day, it didn't matter to me if it took me 20 more minutes there. I was in the club. Like, it was lit.
Yeah. You didn't remember on the way back.
Fuck, I care if it took me 20 extra minutes on the subway. And you know what? I took the subway home at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. We would go to Florent and get a steak frites.
It's safe as well. I lived in New York as well. It was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not dumb. I mean, if it's
you don't
after midnight, go to the middle car where the conductor is. Or the first car where the conductor is. That's all, if you're alone. Now, if you had micro apartments, what would they be in each of these top cities, you think, as a percentage of cost? What do you think they would actually cost to do? Because the average apartment is 500, 600, 700 square feet? 800?
Yeah, sure.
What's a one bedroom? 900?
Yeah, 800, 900, yeah.
So you could probably get that down. You could probably have 2 micro. Is that right? 2 for 1, you think?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, there are people in San Francisco, to use us as an example, against the 35.20 you'll pay if you take a one bedroom. There are people in co-living spaces paying just over $1,000.